One of my favorite stories in the NFL has to be underdog stories. The story of the player everyone counts out rising above and becoming an all-pro player. A perfect example of this last season was Zack Baun. During his first 4 years in the league, he was labeled as just a sole special teams player with the Saints. The Philadelphia Eagles, though, saw more in him. They gave him a one-year contract, converted him to middle linebacker, and well, he balled out. He was an all-pro player after registering 152 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. In a similar way, I think San Francisco has made an underappreciated signing in Luke Gifford, who could potentially start at linebacker for them headed into the season. They've already lost Dre Greenlaw, and Gifford, like Zack Baun, is a converted outside edge piece / outside linebacker to middle linebacker. And while it has taken him a couple of years to get going, last year he balled out in his limited action starting. In 4 games starting for the Saints, for instance, he registered 35 tackles, which is 8.75 tackles a game, and if you expand that out for a full 17-game season, he would have registered 148 tackles in a season, which is more than Fred Warner did for San Francisco last year, their leading tackler. On top of that, he showed off his ability in pass coverage, registering 1 pass defended and 1 interception in this limited action. So in this video, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into the player that is Luke Gifford to really give you a holistic experience of who he is and why I think he could end up being a player like Zack Baun, especially in San Francisco's defense and with a coach like Robert Saleh. Starting out build-wise and athletically, he fits Saleh's scheme to perfection. Saleh really values linebackers that can get upfield in a hurry as well as drop into pass coverage, flow sideline to sideline. And with Gifford, you're getting just that. He comes in at 6'3", weighing 243 pounds, but impressively ran his 40-yard dash in 4.68 seconds, which is faster than Dre Greenlaw's 4.73 second 40. But what impressed me the most last year wasn't anything athletically he was doing on the football field. He's a great athlete, no doubt, but what's really impressive is how he's continued to grow into the role as a true linebacker. To really highlight this point, I want to start with Gifford in the running game, where he does a great job of diagnosing where the back wants to go. Here against the Jacksonville Jaguars, for instance, you can see how he takes his read step, sees a gap in the offensive line forming, so he shoots it, fills it, and brings his back down for a 2-yard gain. Gifford's ability to really diagnose these running plays is something they were missing last year with Devondre Campbell. He often would allow offensive linemen to get inside his chest and then drive him outside the play. Gifford, though, is extremely aggressive in this aspect. A big reason he's able to be so aggressive is how smart and quick he's able to identify plays. Gifford must be doing a ton of film study because on this play, he takes his read step and almost as quickly as the back, well actually quicker than the back, he's able to identify this hole forming in the offensive line right where the back is actually running, shoots it, gets around this offensive lineman because of his lateral quickness, and still is able to bring down the back with him cutting the other direction thanks to his crazy athleticism. I also think Gifford does a nice job of shedding offensive linemen's blocks in open space, maybe in part due to his background as an edge defender coming out of college. On this play, for instance, once again, Gifford's going to be able to quickly identify the counter coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he shoots it, and even with this offensive lineman trying to block him, he's able to shed that block and get this back down for a 1-yard loss on the play. Perhaps where Gifford is most exciting to me though is his sideline to sideline ability. Here again, you look at Gifford in zone coverage for instance, he does a great job of identifying where the quarterback is trying to go and then breaking on the ball. Here for instance, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's able to identify this tight end coming inside his zone, which is the hook curl zone, so he's reading the quarterback's eyes and does a great job of timing it, so as soon as it's being released, he's driving on this ball. And look at his hand placement, it's right on the ball breaking it up. This is high-level linebacker play. I don't care if he's a special teams player or not. I also love how Gifford is always looking to attack the ball in the air. Here against the Bengals, for instance, he first checks this wide receiver to the outside, and then reading Joe Burrow's eyes, he can tell he's targeting the wide receiver over the middle. So he jumps his route and makes a phenomenal interception. I mean, this is a crazy catch. Maybe more importantly for a linebacker, he does a great job of identifying what the play is and then attacking it. Here, for instance, he quickly identifies the halfback screen, and even with this offensive lineman barreling down on him, he's able to shed this block and then bring this back down in the open space. In a similar way here, the Washington Commanders will be running a screen, this time a wide receiver screen, but with Gifford, focus on his ability to get sideline to sideline. He starts out in the middle of the field, actually closer to the quarterback than this wide receiver, but nonetheless, he's able to track him down to the sideline and only allows him to gain 3 on this play. On top of all of this, Gifford is an excellent special teams player. Last year for the Titans, for instance, he registered 14 tackles, which was tied for 5th most across the entire NFL. But to truly understand the player that is Luke Gifford, we need to examine his career up to this point because his career trajectory is pretty crazy. We were first introduced to Gifford at Lincoln Southeast High School in Lincoln, Nebraska. There he played tight end, quarterback, and safety. And as a senior, he was ranked as a 3-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports. And he had offers from Toledo, Ohio, North Dakota, Iowa State, and Nebraska. Ultimately, he did decide to enroll at Nebraska, and shortly after, he was converted to outside linebacker, really basically a defensive end. His best year came as a senior, where he started in all 12 contests, had 62 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, which led the team, 5.5 sacks, which led the team, and 7 quarterback hurries. After the successful senior season, Gifford decided to enter the 2019 NFL Draft, and at his pro day, he came in at 6'3", weighing 243 pounds. He ran his 40-yard dash in 4.68 seconds, his 10-yard split in 1.64 seconds, and he put up the bench press 23 times. And while Gifford wasn't drafted in the 2019 NFL Draft, shortly after, he signed with the Cowboys, who made him a full-time linebacker, and during the next 4 years, he really developed in the background as a linebacker, as well as being a key contributor to special teams. He then signed with the Tennessee Titans, and in his short action starting there, he looked like a starting linebacker. And I believe this is a big reason San Francisco and Robert Saleh went out and signed him. I think Saleh is a coach who thinks that he can put players in the best position to succeed. And often, he's been right on the defensive side of the ball. His unit when he was with the Jets during this season, for instance, was a top 5 unit. Then they slid all the way into the back half of the league without him there. So he understands how to get the absolute most out of players. And with a player like Gifford, I believe Saleh could be looking at a situation like the Philadelphia Eagles and Zack Baun and saying, Gifford's my Baun. He comes in almost at the same size, is extremely athletic, a special teams ace, and during his limited time starting as a linebacker, he looked all the part. And under me, he should look even better. So I do think Gifford will be competing for that job next to Fred Warner, probably with a player like D. Winters, but ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts about San Francisco signing Luke Gifford, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you could like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.